tonight, something soft returns. A soundless knock. A sense that the air around you remembers something you do not. And as you settle into stillness, you begin to feel it a question that doesn't arrive like a thought, but like a memory surfacing from some forgotten place. You've been holding so much. You've changed in ways no one noticed, even you. Some days, you look in the mirror and wonder, where did the old me go? And yet, the world keeps calling you by the same name, as if nothing has shifted beneath your skin. But tonight, we'll explore something different. Not answers, not logic, just a whisper about identity, memory, and the quiet ways time rebuilds us without asking permission. We won't try to explain who you are. We'll simply wonder, what if you've never stopped becoming? So let the muscles in your face soften. Let your shoulders fall back into the bed. There's nothing more to do. You are already here. Take a long, full breath, in through your nose, and out like mist across still water. Let the exhale carry everything you forgot to release today. And if you've ever felt this quiet confusion, the kind that makes you ask, who am I now? Really share it in the comments. Your story might help someone else feel a little less alone. And if you'd like more nights like this, you're always welcome to return. Quietly, gently, whenever you need. Now, let's begin. Not with answers, but with wonder. It starts not with a sound, but with a sensation. Like stepping into a memory you're not sure is yours. The air carries something familiar. And in that familiarity, something quietly unspoken. You are not who you were. You've heard the story, perhaps the ship of Theseus, a vessel, loved and remembered, slowly restored piece by piece across the years. One plank replaced, then another, a broken mast, a faded sail, until one day not a single part remained from the original. And yet, it was still called the same name, still that ship. But was it? Tonight, you are that ship, not metaphorically, literally. Every 7 to 10 years, every cell in your body is replaced. You are not carrying the same blood as the child you once were. Your skin, your bones, your very neurons, they've all been rewritten. Quietly, consistently, without ceremony, without goodbye. And yet, you still say you still walk through the world as if your identity is one unbroken thread. But what if it isn't? What if you've been dissolving and reforming this entire time, and only the memory of self has held the illusion together? You picture a candle. It burns brightly in a room. As the wax melts, you light a new candle with its flame. Then another. Then another. Soon, none of the original wax remains, but the flame continues. So maybe you are not the wax. Maybe you are the fire. Pause. Let that settle into your chest like a tide coming in. You think of the photos in an old drawer. You, at 5 eyes wide, full of sky. You, at 12, uncertain, brilliant, maybe a little lonely. You, last year, smiling in a way you didn't feel. Which one is real? All of them? None of them? Or are they just the shadows cast by something invisible, moving through time? Heraclitus once said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, because both the river and the man are changed." But what if the river is the man? You feel your breath, slow, shallow, alive. This is the you of now. This breath, this heartbeat, this moment. But when this moment passes, where does this you go? Does it vanish? Or does it become the ghost you carry forward, the version of you that lingers in gestures, in phrases you say without knowing why, in the particular tilt of your smile that no one else has? You imagine walking down a spiral staircase in the dark. Each step glows faintly as you pass. But when you look behind, they fade. You cannot walk backward. You can only keep. No matter how familiar it feels. You're never in the same place twice. You are the spiral. You are the staircase. And somewhere deep inside, there is something watching, not changing, not aging, just aware. Is that the real you? The silent observer behind your name, your memories, your reflections? Or is that too an illusion, just another mask in a dream that believes itself to be real? You will never know. And that's not a failure. That is freedom. Because you don't need to be permanent to be meaningful. You don't need to be unchanging to be beautiful. You are the river, the ship, the flame. You are the thing that becomes, the thing that breathes, the thing that wonders. And tonight, in this soft space of inquiry that is more than enough, let go of the pressure to define, to fix, to pin down the self like a butterfly on glass. Let your identity be smoke, mist, a constellation always shifting, never collapsing into one name. Breathe again. Let the edges blur. You are not the same, and you never were. There's a hallway in your mind. You don't remember entering it. You're not even sure how long you've been there. The walls are soft with light, but no doors appear. Only a distant sound like a footstep that always remains one breath ahead of you. You walk toward it, and somehow, you're right back where you started. And just like that, the question forms, what if every choice you've ever made was always going to lead you here? Tonight, let's not run from the idea. Let's sit inside it. Let it fold around you like slow-moving fog. You've been told your whole life that you have free will, that every decision opens a new path, a new world. That choice is what makes you you. But then, why does life so often feel like repetition? Why do moments feel like echoes? Why do some people, some regrets seem to return in cycles? No matter what route you take, in philosophy, there's a thought experiment known as eternal recurrence. Nietzsche imagined it as a test. What if, one day, a demon whispered to you that you would live your exact same life, over and over again, every pain, every joy, every second endlessly repeating? Would you fall to your knees in despair? Or would you rise in quiet reverence, knowing your life is sacred enough to live eternally? And you lying here now, what if this very night has already happened? Not once, but 1,000 times. And you keep returning to it, like a silent orbit, because something within it has not yet been completed. Maybe you didn't miss your chance. Maybe this is your chance again. Pause. Let that land inside your chest. Let the weight of circular time wash over your ribs, not as a burden, but as a strange comfort. Because if everything is looping, then there's nowhere you were supposed to be by now. No version of yourself that's behind. You're not late. You're not broken. You're right here again, because this is the moment that matters most. Even physicists flirt with the idea of time as a loop. Some suggest that retrocausality effects influencing causes may be possible on a quantum level. A particle can arrive before it leaves. The outcome can shape the action. Cause and effect lose their direction like a river that forgets which way it flows. You too have felt this, haven't you? The sense that something ahead of you is pulling. A place you haven't yet been but already miss. It's not logic. It's deeper than that. It's the way your body knows which way to turn, even when your mind hesitates. It's the reason you chose something once, not because it was smart, but because it felt like remembering something you hadn't lived yet. And maybe, just maybe, all roads really do lead here. Not because you lack freedom, but because here is the still point. The eye of the spiral. You imagine yourself in a room. It has many doors. You try one and it leads to a memory. You try another and it becomes a dream. The third, a conversation you thought you forgot. But then you look around and you're back in the center. Not trapped, but returned. What if the point of life isn't to escape the room, but to finally see it for what it is? A mirror, a question, a teacher, and this room, this exact moment, with your breath slowing, your chest rising like a tide. This might be the place where you finally notice that you are not just the one in the room, but the room itself. You are the container, the experiencer, the returning. And no matter how many times you try to flee by running forward, by rewriting the past, by diving into logic or drowning in memory, you will always arrive back in the still, soft now. The room was never trying to hold you in. It was trying to hold you. Now breathe. Let your eyelids rest. Feel the strange calm of knowing that even if this is the 100th time you've lived this night, you are not lost. You are returning not by accident, but because this moment was always meant to be seen again. And this time, you don't run from it. You curl into it and let it hold you, like a home you forgot you built. There's a mirror in the corner of the room. You pass it every morning, sometimes without looking. Other times, you catch a glimpse of something more than just your reflection. Not a wrinkle, not a strand of hair out of place, but a moment, a presence, something still there. Have you ever wondered, what if mirrors aren't just passive? What if they remember? What if they're watching back? You see, mirrors don't store light. They bounce it, effortlessly, silently. And yet somehow, when you stand before them, you don't just see yourself, you feel seen. Maybe it's superstition. Maybe it's quantum. But the thought lingers like breath on cold glass. What if the mirror remembers what it saw yesterday? And if so, is it still watching now? Tonight, in the stillness of this quiet space, let's stay with that thought. Not to solve it, but to feel it. Close your eyes and imagine a hallway of mirrors, each one reflecting a different version of you, not in appearance, but in emotion. One holds the sadness you never expressed. One carries the joy you thought you lost. One is empty, as if waiting. And in the farthest mirror, the one slightly cracked at the edge, you glimpse something strange you're looking in. But your reflection is not looking back. What is it doing? Waiting, watching, or simply remembering who you were before you forgot. There's an old belief mirrors trap souls, that when someone dies, we cover the mirrors so their spirit doesn't get caught wandering inside forever. But what if that story has truth not in the supernatural, but in psychology? Because you do leave something behind when you look into a mirror. Not your soul, but a moment, a gesture, a decision not made, a fear not spoken, a breath you held just a little too long. And tomorrow, when you return, the mirror doesn't show you the same thing. No, it shows you the difference, the shift, the you who has changed, even if only by a single thought. Now take that even further. What if, every time you looked into a mirror, you created a copy, not physical, not visible, but energetic, emotional, a version of you, caught inside, like a pressed flower, still and timeless. And when you pass the mirror the next day, that version watches you go. It knows what you've lost, what you've gained, what you're carrying, even if you don't see it. The physicist in you might protest. Mirrors are not alive. They're not aware. They reflect photons. That's it. But remember, even photons are strange. They act like waves and particles. They behave differently when observed. Sometimes they seem to know the future. What if a mirror is a place where observation becomes memory? Not your memory, It's memory. And what if late at night, when the world is still, the mirror doesn't show your face, but the feeling of you, a sadness you haven't cried, a joy you didn't allow, a curiosity you buried beneath duty and routine. Sometimes, when you look into your own eyes, you sense something looking back. Not just you, but a witness, a stillness. What if that's not imagined? There's an ancient ritual, rarely spoken aloud. In some mystic traditions, you sit before a mirror with a single candle, and you stare not at yourself, but through yourself. Long enough, and your reflection begins to shift. Not morph, but dissolve. And in its place, you see something old, something sacred, something nameless watching you from behind your own eyes, not with judgment, not with fear, but with memory, a quiet reminder that you are more than what the world sees. You are layers, reflections within reflections, stories within stories, and the mirror simply waits for you to return, not to look, but to remember. You breathe slowly. You think of every mirror you've ever passed, every glance, every version of you left behind. What if they're still there, not haunting you, but holding you? A silent archive of your becoming. And tonight, maybe that's enough. Not to understand, not to answer, but to know that some part of you has been watching all along, and it sees you now. There's a voice in your mind. It narrates, comments, worries, remembers, plans. Sometimes it sounds like you. Other times, it speaks with a tone you don't quite recognize. It tells you what you need to do. It replays that thing you said years ago. It interrupts when you're brushing your teeth, just to remind you of a mistake. And late at night, when the world is still, it keeps going soft, insistent, looping like a dream half recalled. But here's a question you may never have asked. If you can hear your thoughts, then who is doing the listening? Pause. Breathe. Let that gently unsettle you. There's the voice. And then, there's you, the one who notices it. That's where things start to get strange. Because if you are the voice, why can you observe it? Why can you step back and watch it ramble like a child playing with matches in a quiet room? This is the thought experiment, the gentle paradox, the slipperiest slope in consciousness studies, mysticism, and ancient philosophy. Who is the one behind your eyes, quietly watching the play of thought unfold? In Hindu Vedanta, they call it the Atman, the witnessing self, unchanging, silent, beyond thought, the screen on which your entire life flickers. In Buddhism, it is anatta, the not-self, a reminder that the thing you call I is just a swirl of perceptions and memories. No center, no core, no watcher, just the illusion of continuity. In neuroscience, they speak of meta-awareness, a strange capacity of the brain to observe its own processes. Thought watching thought, but no clear answer as to where the watcher resides. There is no structure in the brain labeled you, no hidden chamber where the soul sits with a candle, taking notes, just signals, just flickers, just emergence. But still, you feel it, that quiet stranger, just behind your eyes, not judging, not acting, just noticing. You've met them in odd moments, when time slows, when a memory floods you, when you almost say something but don't and feel something larger watching the choice happen. And you wonder, was that really me or something deeper? Some describe it as a sense of standing behind the waterfall. The thoughts pour down, unceasing, crashing and foaming. But you are not in the current. You are behind it, dry, still, unmoved. Others feel it as space, like a room inside their chest, not filled with things but with attention, the capacity to receive. What if that's what you really are? Not the thoughts, not the emotions, not even the body, but the awareness, the open sky in which clouds pass. You imagine sitting at a window, watching a train go by. Each car is labeled worry, memory, desire, plan, shame, hope, craving, regret. They rattle by fast and familiar, and you are the one at the window. You don't need to stop the train. You only need to remember that you're not on it, that you're not the cargo. You're the witness. And yet, that realization doesn't always last. The voice returns. The thinking takes over. The inner monologue grows louder. And once again, you forget. You become the thought, the worry, the plan, the role, until in a moment of quiet you feel it again. Wait, I'm watching this. And the stranger returns, not a ghost, not an intruder, but the truest thing you've ever forgotten. Maybe that's what they meant by enlightenment, not light, not fireworks, just remembering that you are not the voice, but the one who hears it. Tonight, you don't have to find the observer. You don't have to meditate or silence the mind. You only have to notice that something in you is noticing. Let that be enough, because that watcher never judges, never speaks, never leaves. It's been with you since before language, before name, before pain even had a word, and it will be there when the body is gone, when the memories have faded, when no one speaks your name anymore. Still, watching. Now take a breath. Not for your lungs, but for the stranger behind your eyes, the one who's always known that you are not the noise you are, the silence underneath it. The room around you is quiet now. Still. You blink just once and the world vanishes. Gone in the darkness behind your eyelids. The ceiling, the floor, the walls, the sky beyond the window. It's all gone. And still, you trust it will return when your eyes reopen. But what if it doesn't? What if the world is not a fixed thing, but a story that waits to be told by your gaze? You've heard the old questions, haven't you? If a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? If no one is watching the stars, do they still shine? If you're not thinking of someone, do they still exist? In your world, pause. Let your breath become slower. Let your chest rise like a tide that isn't in a hurry. There's a theory in quantum physics. Perhaps the strangest of all, a particle does not take on a single position until it is observed. Before that, it lives in a cloud of possibility. It is not here or there. It is both, and neither. Only when someone looks does the particle collapse into a point, a fact, a reality. So what if everything you see, your room, your face, your memories is like that particle, a wave, waiting, a breath, held, a shape, only solid when it is noticed. You blink again. The room returns. But something feels different. You begin to wonder, was it ever really there at all? Or was it just a perfect dream of space customized by your eyes? There's a childlike memory hiding behind all of this. You can feel it. You're 5, maybe 6. You turn your back on your favorite toy, then spin around, suddenly trying to catch it moving. You were sure, somehow, that it did things while you weren't watching. Now you're older, but the suspicion remains. What if reality performs for you? What if your attention is not a flashlight, but a paintbrush? Imagine this. Every time you walk into a new room, it's created for you. Not in bricks or plaster, but in possibility. In the silent agreement between you and whatever this strange world is. You look, it becomes, you look away. It returns to mist. Absurd. Maybe, but not impossible. The philosopher George Berkeley once claimed that to exist is to be perceived, that without perception, there is no tree, no wall, no face, no sky. And the strange part, science hasn't disproven him. Even now, the double-slit experiment continues to baffle physicists. A particle changes its behavior when someone watches it, as if your gaze reaches backward in time, as if the act of observing is not passive but creative. Let that settle. Your gaze shapes the universe. So what happens when you sleep? When no one is watching? Is the moon still hanging? Do the waves still crash against the rocks? Or are they simply waiting for you to return? You breathe again, and you feel the answer is not yes or no. The answer is something softer. The world exists with you, not outside you, not without you. You are not trapped inside a world. You are co-writing it. Every moment you choose to look, you are the ink. You are the page. You are the reader. And the silence between the lines. Now go deeper. You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years. Where are they now? You don't know. You can't see them. And for all you know in your experience, they no longer exist. They return only when your mind recalls them. Only when your attention paints them back into your world. What if the entire universe works this way? What if love is a kind of creation? The way your care keeps someone real. What if remembering is sacred because it pulls forgotten worlds back into being? And what about the places you've never seen? Mountains in Tibet, caves in Brazil, a quiet street in Mongolia at dawn. Are they real? Yes and no. They are real in the minds of those who walk them. But for you, they are not yet collapsed, not yet observed, not yet dreamt. So again, we return to this moment. You, in this bed, blinking, breathing, becoming. And the question returns, if you don't look, does the world disappear? Maybe not for everyone, but for you, yes. And that makes your gaze holy. Your awareness is the thread that stitches the world together. You do not see reality. You summon it. You close your eyes again. Let them rest. Let the soft dark wash over you. The room fades. The outlines vanish. Even your body feels like fog. And still, you are here. You, the observer. You, the one who watches even in dreams. And the world, whatever it is, waits patiently for your return. Not to trap you, but to become real once more. When you open your eyes again, the sky will paint itself. The ground will form beneath your feet. And everything will come alive again, just to meet your gaze. Until then, sleep. You've done enough. Let the world rest with you. It begins again, not with an alarm, not with the sun, but with something quieter, a soft shift, as if your mind clicks into place, and you wake, but something feels off. You've been here before. This ceiling, this silence, this breath drawn in as if borrowed from a past life. You turn your head slowly. Look at the wall, the window, your hand. Everything is right, but everything feels repeated. Déjà vu, perhaps, but deeper. Like returning to a chapter in a book you didn't realize you were rereading. It's not just the morning that's familiar. It's the feeling, that subtle ache behind your ribs, the quiet question in the air. Haven't I already lived this day? And beneath it, a second question, softer, but more haunting. What if every morning is the same? Not the same in detail, not the same socks or sky or coffee, but the same moment, the same entry point into the same reality, the same version of you waking up to repeat what you never quite finished. A loop, a spiral, a circle wearing the costume of a straight line. Pause. Let that idea open a small door in your mind. You don't need to understand it. Just feel it. You've had that dream before, the one where you know you're dreaming, and you try to wake up, but you're still inside. You open your eyes, but they're still dream eyes. You get out of bed, but it's a dream bed, and the loop keeps folding. Some philosophers, like Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, believed life itself may work this way: eternal recurrence, an infinite return. Each moment looping not because it must, but because it already did. And you're not just a participant. You're the dreamer and the dreamed, the one who forgets, and the one who starts again. Now consider this. What if your dreams at night aren't the fiction but the exit signs? What if the dream world is where you remember what this world tries to make you forget? That you are inside something, a program, a memory, a soft maze of your own making. You feel it, don't you? Each morning, you wake, you perform the rituals, the coffee, the mirror, the door, and something in you keeps whispering, "I've done this before." You think of the movie scripts, the simulations, the stories where people are stuck in time. But this isn't science fiction. This is something older, something sacred. In Hindu cosmology, time is not a line, it is a wheel. The yuga's vast cycles of ages repeat endlessly. Creation, destruction, return. The Mayans, too, saw time as spirals. Each ending, a beginning. Each beginning, a memory repeating itself in a new disguise. So what if your life is not moving forward but turning? What if what you call growth is just the widening of the same circle? You don't move linearly. You orbit, around choices not yet resolved, around emotions half processed, around a self not yet fully remembered. And each day, you reawaken to the same lesson written in new handwriting. A different name, a different face, but the same feeling. That conversation you avoided last year returns in a new form. That fear you thought you outgrew shows up in a different disguise. That longing you buried keeps singing through the cracks of your logic. Is that failure? No. That's the loop offering you another chance. Not to escape, but to see what you couldn't see last time. To remember what you promised yourself you wouldn't forget. Take another breath. Let your mind settle into that spiral. Feel how your life is not a story with a beginning and end, but a mantra, repeating, turning, calling you inward. Now, imagine this. You are asleep, right now. And this moment, this story is the dream you keep waking into. What would change if you treated it that way? Would you listen more closely to the background sounds? Would you touch the wall, just to see if it's solid? Would you question the version of yourself that's being handed back to you each morning like a script? And what if the only way to exit the loop is not to escape it, but to see it, to become aware, not just that you are dreaming, but that you are choosing to return again and again for something, some truth still waiting to be found. So tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, notice the familiarity, feel the echo, and instead of brushing it off, smile, because maybe that echo is not a glitch. Maybe it's the signal, the invitation to wake up differently this time, to ask, not what's new, but what's trying to return. Sleep now, and let the loop turn once more, not to trap you, but to bring you back to what your soul never stopped seeking. You find yourself walking through a long hallway, but it doesn't feel like a place. It feels like a memory, or maybe a dream someone else once had, and left open for you to return to. The air is thick with quiet. The floor beneath you creaks, not with age, but with intention, as if each step calls something into being. You look up. Shelves, endless shelves, books, thousands of them, stretch into the dark like stars frozen in rows. You reach out. The spine of one shimmers softly beneath your fingers. No title, just a warmth like recognition. You open it, and suddenly, you're somewhere else. This is the library of lives you didn't live, the choices you didn't make, the words you never said, the people you almost loved, the paths you turned away from. All of them are still unfolding, just not here. In quantum physics, it's more than poetry. It's called the many worlds interpretation. Every time a decision is made whether to speak, to stay, to turn left instead of right, the universe splits. One version continues on the road you chose, and another branches out carrying the you that made the other choice. You, but different, softer, maybe, or braver, or lonelier, or kinder, or still angry. They all exist, not as fiction, but as parallel melodies all playing at once. And sometimes you hear their echo, that strange longing for something you never had, that unexplainable grief when you pass a stranger's face, that moment of joy for no reason like sunlight that lands on you from a sun in someone else's sky. What if those feelings are not illusions, but memory? What if you remember not just this life, but dozens of others softly, faintly like hearing music through a wall? You walk deeper into the library. One book pulses gently in a shade of violet. You pull it from the shelf. Inside is a version of you who stayed. You didn't leave that place. You didn't walk away from them. You tried again, and failed, and tried again, and forgave. This version hurts, but it's beautiful. It has cracks, but it glows. You recognize them, not by the facts of their life, but by their rhythm. They breathe like you do. They doubt like you do. They carry the same secret hope in the same corner of the chest. You place the book back, gently, almost like saying goodbye to someone you'll never meet, but still love. You take another step. A green book waits, inside a version of you who said yes. To the move, to the risk, to the question you once ignored. They live near a river. They write poems. They never married. They speak 3 languages. And they still cry when they smell jasmine tea. Is this envy? No. This is something softer. It's the awe of realizing you could have been infinite, and in a way, you still are, because every version of you is not other. It's you, unfolded in a different way, a different breath, a different page in the same eternal book. And when you dream you walk these halls, you don't always remember, but the traces stay. That impossible familiarity with a city you've never visited. That moment you taste something new, but it feels old. That's the library, whispering through the cracks in reality. You pause beside another shelf. These books are heavier, not darker, but deeper. Here live the versions of you that suffered more. The ones who stayed in the wrong place. The ones who believed the wrong words. The ones who gave up too soon. You hesitate, but even these stories deserve to be held, because they are not shameful. They are sacred. Every life you didn't live helped shape the one you did. They are mirrors. They are ghosts. They are prayers in languages you don't speak anymore, but still feel, and they are still becoming. You look up again. There's no end, no top shelf, no final book. This library is alive, not built from paper but from potential, and your presence here is not passive. You're not just reading, you are writing. Now, with each breath, each pause, each kindness offered or withheld, you are choosing another story. And maybe somewhere another version of you is watching you. Maybe in their dreams, they glimpse this life and wonder what it would have felt like to be here. Just as you wonder about them, the loop continues, not to trap you, but to remind you there is no wrong path. There is only the path you chose and the ones that chose someone else. And they are all part of you, carried in the silence between heartbeats, alive in the breath you don't notice, whispered in the way you almost recognize your own handwriting even when it changes. So rest now. You've walked far. You've held lives that weren't yours, and in doing so, They became part of you. You are the library, the shelf, the reader, the page. And tonight, in this soft stillness between dreams, you are also the writer. What will tomorrow's story be? You don't need to know. You only need to notice and listen, for the pages are already turning. Silence finds you like a tide returning, not as absence, but as a presence so full, so ancient. It no longer needs to announce itself. It's the middle of the night, and there's no music, no conversation, not even the low hum of machines. But somehow you hear something, not with your ears, with your memory, with your breath, as if the air itself remembers every note, every word, every echo that has ever passed through this space. You lie still and wonder, is silence really empty? Or is it just full of sounds that have been let go? You think of a cathedral, the stone arches, the vaulted dome, the hush after a choir ends. The last note fades, but the space still holds it. Not audibly, but spiritually. Like steam lingering after a warm breath, or a footprint in snow. Long after the walker is gone, there are places in the world where silence has weight. The desert, the deep forest, a library at midnight. You step into those places, and something watches, listens, waits, not for noise, but for meaning. And maybe that's what silence is, the memory of meaning after the sound has passed. Physics tells us that sound is vibration, pressure, air stirred in waves. So where do those waves go after we fall silent? Some are absorbed, some are echoed, some fade into frequencies too soft to hear, but maybe some stay embedded in walls, soaked into soil, stored in the folds of fabric and time. In Hindu cosmology, before the first word, before creation, there was only aum, not a sound, but the seed of sound. And from that primordial silence, everything began. In Tibetan rituals, silence is not an intermission. It is the presence of the sacred, not the lack of noise, but the return of the original stillness that gives all noise its shape. So maybe silence isn't the absence of life. Maybe it's what life is built on, like paper behind ink, or sky behind stars. You close your eyes. Now the silence is deeper, but it's not quiet, is it? You hear the faint rhythm of your own pulse, the creak of the bed frame, a dog barking in the far distance. Even your breath becomes its own kind of ocean, and below that, something else. A kind of waiting, a gentle room behind the room, a space you don't often visit, but tonight, you're here. You wonder, does silence remember your voice? The words you said in anger, the songs you sang as a child, the whisper you gave to someone's shoulder when your heart broke. Are they still echoing somewhere? You picture a glass bottle floating in the sea inside, a message, a sound, trapped, preserved, forgotten. Maybe your old sounds live like that. Not gone, just waiting for the right ear to listen again. Maybe silence is full of those bottles. Messages not lost, just patient. You return to the room. You remember being in the presence of someone you loved deeply. Neither of you spoke, but the silence between you was louder than thunder. It said everything, held everything, promised everything. Some silences heal, some silence wounds, but all of them speak. You just have to stop long enough to hear them. In the Book of Kings, the prophet Elijah hears God not in the fire, not in the wind, not in the earthquake, but in a still small voice. And maybe that's what you're listening for now. Not a booming truth, not an answer, just a presence. Think of the universe. Most of it is silent, but not empty. Dark matter hums. Planets vibrate. Neutrinos drift through your body by the trillions. You don't hear them, but they're there. Silence, then, is not the absence of activity. It's the fullness of what you're not yet tuned to. You imagine walking through a dark hallway of your own mind, and the silence is a corridor. Each step forward echoes softly, not because the space is hollow, but because it's alive. The walls remember. The floor remembers. Your own footsteps remember where you've been, and sometimes they guide you home. Now consider this. What if silence holds not only the past, but the future too? The laughter not yet laughed, the goodbye you haven't said, the truths you don't yet have words for, all of it, waiting, cradled in this hush, and you, wrapped in it, are not alone, because the silence listens back, not with judgment, not with impatience, just presence, steady, soft, always. So don't rush past it tonight. Let the stillness rise around you like water in a warm bath. Let it hold the weight you've carried all day. Let it absorb your confusion, your overthinking, your exhaustion. Let it say, I remember. Even when you forget, I was there. In your first cry, in your last kiss, in every moment you didn't know how to name. Let it say you don't need to speak now. You don't need to perform. You don't even need to understand. You just need to listen to the silence that never forgot you. Sleep now, and may every sound you've ever loved find its way back to you in your dreams. You once thought maps were harmless. Simple tools. Representations of something real. A forest flattened onto parchment. A coastline pressed into lines. A life reduced to coordinates and names. But tonight, you wonder, what if the map doesn't describe the territory? What if it creates it? You're not the first to ask. Long before satellites, before ink met compass, there were map makers who shaped empires with lines. They drew borders on paper, and soon walls rose to match them. They labeled oceans as unknown, and so they stayed unknown for centuries. A line in ink became a line in blood. A name spoken enough times became a reality. You lie in bed now, safe. But your thoughts wander like explorers. They step gently into this idea. What if every time you describe your world you are shaping it? You say, I'm not brave. I always forget things. I'm unlucky with love. And with each repetition, the words sink deeper, like roots, like rivers carving valleys. Your descriptions become your map, and over time, you begin to live inside it. You don't explore beyond the marked zones. You avoid the places labeled danger. You stay close to the trails you've walked before. But the most haunting part, you might have drawn that map yourself. There's a theory in linguistic philosophy called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. It suggests that the language you speak limits the thoughts you can think, that the words available to you define what is even possible to feel, to see, to become. In other words, describe something enough times, and it becomes the shape of your reality. And yet there's hope hidden here, because if your words can build the map, maybe they can redraw it too. Maybe you can update the legend, add forgotten paths, erase false boundaries. You remember Section 7, the Library of Infinite Lives. Each choice you didn't make still unfolding on some other shelf. And in that vast collection, there are versions of you who drew different maps. Who said, I am learning. I can heal. I am still in motion. Their territories are not smoother, but wider, more alive, more forgiving. They didn't wait for proof. They simply described a world as if it were already true and then stepped into it. What if you did the same? You breathe. Inhale a new sentence. Exhale the one that no longer fits. I'm not broken. You whisper. I'm becoming. Your body hears it. The silence holds it. The world tilts slightly and realigns. A new trail appears on the map. In ancient mysticism, God did not shape the world with his hands. He spoke it. Let there be. And so it was. Word became matter. Voice became form. A map drawn in breath. Is it so different when you say, this is who I am? A child hears. You're shy, and the territory shrinks. Another hears. You're curious, and suddenly doors appear where there were none. The map is never neutral, and neither is the way you speak about yourself. Think of quantum physics. Particles remain in a state of potential, a cloud of probabilities, until they are observed. Only when someone looks does the particle choose a location. Reality collapses into form. And what is observation, if not a kind of naming, a kind of mapping? So what happens when you describe yourself in sharper detail? What happens when you say, I feel joy in small things, or I'm ready to grow beyond this? What happens is you collapse a version of yourself into being. You choose a path on a map that was waiting to be drawn. Of course, this isn't magic. It doesn't mean you can say, I am happy, and erase sorrow. But it means your words matter. They're scaffolding. They're seeds. They're quiet builders of the days to come. So be gentle with them. Be bold with them. Be sacred with them. Speak not just what is, but what could be. Describe the sunrise before it rises. Name the healing while it's still in progress. Sketch love even in absence. Trace forgiveness even if it's still far down the road. Because what you describe is what you will find, and what you avoid describing may remain lost forever. You lie in bed. The ceiling is no longer flat. It feels open. A sky, perhaps. A canvas. A territory that hasn't been claimed yet. And your mind, your quiet, watching mind holds the pen. What do you want to say? Who do you want to become in the morning? The map is yours, not fixed, not final, not finished. Every word you whisper now is a new landmark, a trailhead, a constellation. So go ahead, speak softly. I am ready. I am changing. I am whole. Even while becoming. Say it, and watch the world reshape itself to meet your words. Now rest. Let the map redraw in your sleep. Let the unknown return as invitation. Let your breath write what language cannot. Because beneath it all, beneath the paper and the path and the thought, you are the map and the territory. And neither is finished. There is a voice inside your head. You don't remember inviting it in. You don't recall the first time it spoke. And yet, it has become your closest companion and sometimes your quietest enemy. It narrates your mornings before you open your eyes. It critiques your reflection before you even stand. It doubts you in moments of hope. It blames you in moments of silence. And though it speaks in your voice, uses your vocabulary, and knows your secrets, there are days it sounds like someone else entirely. Someone colder, sharper, unkind. So tonight, you ask, where does this voice come from? And if it isn't always you, then who is it? The Buddhists call the mind the chattering monkey, endlessly moving, rarely still. It swings from past to future, regret to worry, never landing in the quiet now. But they also teach you are not the monkey. You are the forest, the silence beneath the branches, the ground that holds the tree, the sky that listens without interrupting. Modern neuroscience reveals something just as strange. That thoughts arise milliseconds before you're even aware of them. That your brain begins to decide before you feel you've chosen. Which means you are not always the author of your thoughts. You are the receiver, the listener, the one who decides which thought becomes a belief and which can drift away like fog. But where do these thoughts come from? Some come from memory, from voices long past parents, teachers, the girl in 4th grade who said your smile was crooked. Others come from repetition stories you've told yourself so many times. They feel like home. Some are inherited, cultural, epigenetic echoes from people who raised you, or the ones who never got to. Others still, no one knows. They arrive unannounced, from the dark hallway between language and feeling, like a whisper without a face. You lie still now, listening to the latest voice in your head. It says you forgot something, that you're falling behind, that you haven't done enough, that you are not enough. But this time, you pause. You notice the shape of it, the sharpness in its tone, The way it presses against your ribs like cold air. You breathe and ask softly, "Who taught you to speak to me that way?" You remember a time in childhood when someone raised their voice. Not in anger, just carelessness. You flinched, and now, part of you still flinches. Not from the world, but from your own thoughts. Because over time, that voice took up residence inside. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're patterned, like stone shaped by water. But tonight you remember you are not the pattern. You are the space that holds it. The ancient Sufis spoke of the inner self as a guest house. Each emotion, each thought a visitor arriving at your door. You cannot always stop them, but you can decide which ones you serve tea to and which ones you let pass through. So you ask again, who is the guest that just arrived? Is this voice an ally or a ghost still knocking from a door you already closed? You return to your breath, slow, warm. Your own voice, if you listen closely, sounds different. It says you're tired, you've done enough, you are allowed to be unsure. It says this thought will pass. You don't need to fix it. Let's rest now. You feel the difference. The voice that shames tightens the body. The voice that loves softens it. And that's how you know which one to keep, which one to question. In Section 8, you learn that silence remembers sound, that absence holds echoes. And here, you realize something similar. Your thoughts are echoes too, not always present, not always true, but shaped by what was once said, once heard, once believed. And if echoes can linger, they can also fade. With time, with compassion, with awareness. You are not here to win arguments with your mind. You are here to sit beside it, to hold its hand when it trembles, to teach it new phrases, kinder cadences, truer names. You can tell it. You're afraid. I see you, but you don't have to shout. I'll listen, but I won't obey, because there's a part of you older than the voice, wiser than the doubt, quieter than the fear. A part that doesn't speak in words, but in weight, in stillness, in knowing. That's the voice beneath the voice. And it is yours. So as sleep comes, notice your thoughts. Let them rise. Let them float. Let them pass. Do not cling. Do not judge. Just listen. And when the harsh one appears, smile gently. Say, I know you, but I don't believe you. Not tonight. Not anymore, because now you are the listener, the guest housekeeper, the quiet watcher of the voice that isn't yours. And as dreams begin, they'll carry only what you choose to keep. The rest can fall away like old names in a language you no longer speak. Somewhere in the dream, you find it, a stone, worn, rounded, smooth as memory. It sits beneath a tree that's no longer alive, surrounded by wind that never touches it, wrapped in shadow. Though it is not dark, it has been there for as long as you can remember. Or maybe longer. You kneel beside it, place your hand on its cool surface, and you realize it has not changed. Not once. Not even slightly. And in this world where everything bends, fades, grows old, the stone remains. You've been told that change is life, that movement is meaning, that growth is proof that something matters. But what if the opposite is also sacred? What if stillness, unchanging presence, can carry just as much truth? What if the things that never shift are not lost, but holding something the rest of us forgot? There are truths in your life that have moved. Your name, your voice, your body, even your beliefs. You've changed your mind. You've changed your course. You've changed your tone. But isn't there something deep beneath all that that has stayed? Not your thoughts, not your personality, something quieter. The place inside you that watches, that's the stone. In ancient Taoist writings, they speak of the uncarved block, pure, untouched, the part of nature that has not been shaped by will. It simply is. And in Sufi mysticism, they speak of the hidden core, the heart beneath the heart, untouched by time, unmoved by grief, unchanged by praise or shame. It is the still point around which your spinning self rotates. It is not loud. It does not prove itself, but it is always there. And perhaps that's what makes it real. In the physical world, we know this too. The electron moves, the body decays, even mountains shift over millennia. But inside, every atom is a nucleus, a dense, unmoving center that holds everything in place. A gravity that anchors without shouting. Your soul might work the same way. Think of your life, all the seasons you've passed through, all the identities you've tried on, outgrown, returned to. And yet, something has remained unchanged. That small ache when you hear a certain song, that feeling of awe when looking at stars, that silent knowing that you were meant for something gentle, something kind, something beyond explanation. No matter what else shifted, those remained. That's your stone. But now ask yourself, if something never changes, is it more real or less? In a world obsessed with updates, novelty, innovation, the unmoving often gets ignored. But maybe the things that last are not loud because they don't need to be. A lighthouse doesn't wander. It stays, so you can return. The North Star doesn't follow trends. It simply burns, so you can find your way. And the stone beneath the tree doesn't try to grow. It just endures. And in doing so, it reminds you that something can be real without being new. You press your palm against the stone again. You realize it has held centuries of rain, the footprints of wanderers, the ash of fires, the silence of those who knelt before you. And yet, it has not asked for a name. It has never declared itself, never demanded to be seen. And maybe that's why it's so easy to miss. Maybe that's why so few people ever notice the parts of themselves that have never changed. They're not noisy. They're not fashionable, but they are true. So tonight, ask gently, what in me has never moved? What part of me watched every joy, every failure, every turning, and simply remained? What part of me knew who I was before I had to prove it? That's not your ego, not your mind, not even your name. That's the stone, the stillness beneath the story, the root beneath the wind. You don't have to live from that place all the time, but it helps to remember that it's there. When you're tired of becoming, you can return to what has always been. When the world demands reinvention, you can rest in what never needed change. When your thoughts grow loud, you can listen to the silence that shaped them, not to escape, but to remember. You were whole before you ever tried to be, and part of you still is. The stone never moves, but it does something stranger. It holds, it absorbs, it remembers. And tonight, as you drift deeper, know this. There is a place within you that remembers everything you've ever been, not to judge, but to hold it still until you're ready to return. So sleep now. You don't need to change. You don't need to improve. You don't need to become anything. You are already standing on something ancient, unbreakable, true. You are already home. There's a moment just before waking when the dream starts to thin. You notice the edges peeling. The rules stop making sense. Time slows. Gravity flickers. Someone says your name in a voice you've never heard. And suddenly, you remember. You've been asleep. But what if that moment never came? What if you're still dreaming, right now, and simply forgot to wake up? It sounds impossible. And yet, every night, your mind creates entire worlds, strangers, stories, emotions so vivid you wake with tears. You taste meals you never cooked, feel love you've never known, flee from fears that disappear by morning. And while you're inside them, they feel real. Until they don't. But what if the same is true now? What if this moment, this room, this breath, this body is another dream, a lucid one, so layered, so richly detailed, you forgot it was a dream at all. Descartes once asked, "How can I know I'm not dreaming?" He couldn't find a perfect answer. So he clung to one idea, I think. Therefore I am. But even that, some argue, could be part of the dream. And in Eastern thought, this has long been accepted, that all reality is Maya, not illusion in the false sense, but illusion as impermanence. A veil, a shifting mask worn by something deeper, something watching. Tonight, you are that watcher. You lie still, listening to the voice in your mind. You think this is me thinking, but then wonder who is the one hearing the thought. It sounds like your voice, but the tone, sometimes harsh, sometimes afraid. In section 10, you remembered the voice is not always yours. It's a patchwork, a theater of echoes. And now, here in section 12, you begin to ask, what if this entire story is being whispered to you? What if you are not the actor, but the dreamer? Think about the loops in your life, the emotions that return like seasons, the familiar strangers, the sudden déjà vu, the waking from sleep only to feel still asleep. How many times have you asked, why does this keep happening? Why do I always end up here? Maybe it's not punishment. Maybe it's not failure. Maybe it's a dream trying to help you remember that you're still inside it. In Hindu cosmology, there is a concept called Lila the Divine Play. It suggests the universe is not a test, not a trap, but a story. One where the divine forgets itself in order to experience remembering. You are not outside that story. You are it. You are the divine in disguise. The veil is thin, but not broken. You can still wake, not with alarm, but with softness. Here's how. Pause in the middle of something familiar. Look twice at a room you walk through daily. Touch an object and wonder, how do I know this is real? Ask quiet questions. What if this moment is not what it seems? What if this thought isn't mine? What if everything here is trying to teach me how to wake without leaving? Because this isn't a call to escape life. It's a call to live inside it with awareness. To remember the dream without losing the dreamer. There are clues, repeating numbers, songs at the right moment, strangers who say the exact phrase you needed to hear, memories from childhood that feel borrowed, desires you can't explain, griefs that make no sense. They're not evidence of madness. They're notes passed to you from the part of you that never forgot. The part that's been sleeping just beneath the surface of every thought. And maybe you're not meant to fully wake. Not yet. Maybe the goal isn't to leave the dream, but to shape it, to realize you're inside it. And from that place, begin to change its texture, to speak softer, to breathe deeper, to look at others and remember they might be dreaming too. So tonight, as your body stills, ask yourself, what would it feel like to remember this is a dream but still live it with love? You don't need to prove it's unreal. You don't need to dismiss what you feel. Even dreams hold real emotion. Even dreams can heal. Maybe that's the point. That this life, this identity, this strange, tender experience is both real and not real. Like a reflection in still water. Like a candle in a room with no source of flame. Like a name you remember, but don't know why. Let the dream hold you now. Let it show you something new. Not through logic, but through gentle permission. To be uncertain, to be playful, to be awake inside your own illusion. You are the dreamer, but you are also the dreamed. You are both the storyteller and the character. And somewhere beyond all this, beyond language, beyond fear, beyond memory, you are watching, smiling, waiting, knowing that even this moment, this question is part of the path back home. Now close your eyes, not to escape, but to remember. The dream isn't ending, it's opening, and you are the one holding the key in your hand. Sleep softly, dream wisely, and know this, you were never lost. You were only dreaming, and part of you always knew. Some nights, time doesn't tick. It sighs. It lingers in the corners of the room, moves like smoke from a candle that's gone out. You glance at the clock once, twice, and only a minute has passed. But it felt like an hour. This happens most when you're sad. Not loud, breaking sadness, but the soft kind. The kind that hums in your ribs and folds you into your own stillness. Is time broken, or is it listening? Because science tells you time is constant. A clean rhythm. 60 seconds per minute. No emotion. No opinion. But your body tells a different story. When you were a child, summer afternoons lasted forever. A single day could hold a lifetime of thoughts. A single glance could stretch longer than a movie. And yet now, weeks blur together. A year disappears like a name you forgot to write down. So which time is real? The one on the wall or the one inside your chest? In Section 10, you questioned the voice that speaks in your mind. In Section 12, you wondered if you were still dreaming. And now, in this slowness, you feel something else. Time may not be a ruler, but a mirror. It reflects not what is, but how you are. Sadness bends time. It opens up the seconds, lets you sit in them longer. It peels open your awareness, stretches your memory like cloth in the wind. Because when you're sad, your mind holds more. You replay conversations. You scroll through unlived versions of your life. You study what didn't happen with the precision of an archivist trying to restore a missing piece of history. The clocks around you don't change, but your internal metronome slows to a hush. Even movement feels delayed. You reach for the teacup. It feels further away. You walk across the room. The space feels wider, thicker, like walking through water. And maybe this isn't a malfunction. Maybe this is sacred. A gift you never asked for but one you needed. Because sadness says, wait, don't rush through this. There is something here to feel, even if it hurts. Time expands to let you feel it fully. You remember someone once said time heals all wounds. But maybe it's more accurate to say, wounds teach you to feel time again, to stop, to listen, to return to yourself. Even physicists know time isn't fixed. Einstein proved that time bends under speed, under gravity. And what is grief if not spiritual gravity? What is heartbreak if not a slowing of light? In black holes, time stretches toward infinity. And maybe sadness is your own small black hole. A moment of infinite feeling in a single hour. In ancient traditions, time wasn't a line, it was a spiral. The Maya, the Hindus, the Lakota, they all believed time curves back on itself. It remembers. It returns. And when you feel sad, you notice that curve. You hear echoes of old joys. You see the shape of an old room suddenly return in your dreams. Grief is the loop that brings you back to the places you thought you'd forgotten. Sometimes, in the stillness, you don't know if you're healing or just pausing. But even pausing is a form of survival. The clock slows not to punish you, but to carry you gently through a moment too heavy to rush. And yet, it's in this stretched time that some of your deepest insights emerge. Memories speak louder. Your breath becomes clearer. The wind feels like language. The silence begins to shimmer. You notice the corners of your home, the way the floor creaks, the rhythm of your own blinking. Time slows, and you begin to hear things you couldn't before. There is a metaphor from Japanese art, a bowl, once broken, repaired with veins of gold. Kintsugi, the break is not erased, it is highlighted. Time does not erase your cracks. It polishes them, but only if you let it move at its own pace. Only if you don't try to rush the mending. So tonight, if time feels frozen, if your heart feels slow, if the silence won't pass, let it be. Let the slow hours wrap around you. Not like a trap, but like a blanket from another life. Let sadness hold the minutes still so your soul can return to the body it left behind when life moved too fast. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are just in a moment where time is teaching you how to feel again. And soon, when the breath returns, when the light shifts, time will move forward once more. But for now, this pause is sacred. So lie here, breathe slowly. Let the seconds stretch like silk. Let each blink become a meditation. Let each heartbeat echo like a bell through the cathedral of your chest. Because time is not pretending, it's not objective, it's listening to you. And tonight, it is slowing down because your soul is whispering something it doesn't want you to miss. You wake in the middle of the night for no reason. There's no sound, no light, just a sense that someone's there. But when you look, there's only the room, the air, the quiet, and something else you can't quite name, a feeling, like a memory that didn't happen. Have you ever felt it, that soft ache when you pass a place you almost moved to? Or see a stranger who feels like someone you should have known? Or when you hear a song that brings tears but you don't know why? Maybe those moments are footprints, left by the versions of you that chose a different path. Because not every version of you was lived. Some lives stayed behind, like unopened letters, rooms with the light still on. They weren't wrong. You simply walked another way, but they didn't disappear. They walk beside you just out of reach. The ghost of the road not taken. Every choice you've made was a doorway. Every hesitation, a threshold. When you chose yes, some other self chose no. When you stayed, some other you left. And when you let go of someone, there may be a version of you still holding their hand on a bench that never disappeared. In physics, there is a theory, the many worlds interpretation. It says every possible outcome actually exists. Each decision splits the universe, branches it, somewhere. You live all your might have beens, not fantasy, not fiction, just parallel, just quietly, elsewhere. And the odd thing is, you feel them. You always have. You sense the version of you who became an artist, the one who traveled alone, the one who forgave earlier, the one who never forgot how to sing. You don't always see them, but they move through your shadow. And sometimes, they look out at the world through your eyes for just a moment. This isn't regret. It's remembering. It's that moment when you stare into a mirror and don't recognize yourself, not because you've changed, but because you see the outline of someone you almost became. And they're not angry. They're not haunting. They're just here to be acknowledged. In ancient Sufi thought, it said we carry many selves layered like veils. Not illusions, but aspects. In dreams, you sometimes step into one. A life that feels as real as the one you wake into. A city you never lived in but know intimately. An argument you never had but feel the echo of in your chest. A goodbye you never said but mourn anyway. In section 11, you met the part of you that never moves, the unmoving stone beneath all identities. In section 12, you remembered that this life itself might be a dream. And you, the dreamer who forgot. Now in section 14, you meet the other dreamers. The parallel yous who drift just beyond this moment. They're not faded. They're folded, tucked between heartbeats. Sometimes they return through memory, sometimes through art, sometimes in the strange quiet just before you fall asleep. A voice you don't remember using. A sadness that doesn't quite belong to this story. A craving for something you never had but still miss. It's them, not asking to take over just to be seen. There's a Japanese idea, Uchira no Jibun, the selves we carry inside. Not just who we were, but who we could be. And maybe those selves aren't gone. Maybe they stand at every crossroads in your mind, holding lanterns, not judging, just keeping vigil. Tonight, you walk through those crossroads. You see yourself as the healer, the parent, the wanderer, the one who stayed, the one who left, the one who never stopped dancing, the one who said no to what hurt, the one who never stopped loving. Each one a full life, a library of experience stored just behind your current breath. So what do you do with them? You don't erase them. You don't chase them. You sit with them, like family, like memory, like a dream that meant something. You light a candle in your mind and say, "Thank you for walking with me. Even though I didn't choose you, you still chose to stay." And in that moment, you don't feel divided. You feel vast. You feel like a sky that could hold all these constellations. You feel like a song with many verses. You feel whole. Not because you lived every version, but because you honored them. As you lie still now, breathing in the night, imagine them settling beside you. Not ghosts, not echoes, companions, possibilities, soft versions of you resting their heads just beside yours. No words, no grief, just presence. Let them walk with you in dreams. Let them shape the symbols that rise. Let them color the dreamscapes you enter as you sleep. You are not one life. You are a gallery of lives. A long hallway of doors. Some opened, some not. But every step you've taken has been seen by all yourselves. And tonight they're not behind you. They're not lost. They're walking beside you. Always have, always will. It usually happens when no one's watching. You're brushing your teeth, or waiting for the kettle to boil. The world feels quiet, but something stirs. Not loud, not urgent, just a soft little thread of thought tugging at the corner of your mind. Who am I? You don't speak it out loud. You barely notice asking, but it's there, echoing, somewhere beneath the noise. And then, like a reflex, an answer rises. Your name, your age, your story, your roles. But deeper than that, the question still hangs, not to be solved, but to be heard. In section 10, you traced your thoughts back to a voice that didn't quite sound like yours. In section 12, you drifted through the dream and wondered if you'd forgotten you were asleep. And now, you're not dreaming. You're not thinking. You're just asking. And the asking itself feels like waking. So ask again, softly, gently. Who am I? Let the answer come. And then, let it fall away. I'm me. But who is me? The person who thinks. Then who is hearing that thought? The body. But who notices the body? The memory. The voice. The name. But what existed before all of that? Who is there when there's nothing left to describe? This isn't a game. It's not philosophy class. It's something older, deeper. A truth that's always been with you but hidden in plain sight. You are not your name. You were given that. You are not your face. That changes. You are not your thoughts. Those flicker like fireflies in the dark. So, what remains? In the ancient Upanishads, the sages whisper neti. Neti. Not this. Not that. Not the body. Not the mind. Not even the question. And yet, something is asking, and something is watching the asking. There's a parable from Zen. A monk asks his master, "What is the self?" The master replies, "Mu, not yes, not no, just unthing." Not because there is no self, but because any attempt to define it locks you out of its truth. The self is not an object. It is the space between the words. So maybe you are a paradox, a mystery folded in on itself. Like a mirror that reflects nothing until something steps in front of it. Or like a dream that remembers the dreamer but not the dream. Imagine standing in a hall of mirrors. Each one shows a version of you. The child, the lover, the one who failed, the one who succeeded, the one who walked away, the one who stayed. Each reflection speaks. Some echo things you've heard before. Others say things you didn't know you believed. And in the middle, no mirror, just space, just breath. Could it be that you are not the reflections, but the space between them, not the words, but the silence that makes them heard, not the answer, but the asking itself? Kierkegaard once said, "The self is a relation that relates itself to itself." You are the one who watches the self trying to watch itself. You are not just inside the question. You are the one carving the question into the fabric of the night. So tonight, do not chase a clear answer. Let the eye dissolve like sugar in warm tea. Let it melt. Let it soften. Let it reveal what was always there beneath the masks, beneath the mirrors, Beneath the mind, a presence, silent, still, unmoved even as everything else moves. You are not a fixed point. You are a flickering candle lit by the mystery of being, a breath made visible for a short time, a question with no need to be answered, a dream still aware that it's dreaming. So lie back, let the question echo, who am I? Let it wrap itself around you like mist over a still lake. No need to explain, no need to resolve. Let the unknowing become your cradle. Let the silence become your teacher. Let the breath become the only name you carry. And as you drift into sleep, remember, you are the question. You are the whisper. You are the space where all selves rise and fall like tides. You are not the one who answers. You are the one who never stopped asking. And that is enough. Now let go of form, of memory, of the need to be anyone but here. Breathe once more. Soft, present, no name, no label. Just this. You've looked in the mirror 1,000 times, most days. It does what you expect. It follows. You move. It moves. You blink. It blinks. You raise a hand. And so does it perfectly in sync. But have you ever had the feeling that it blinked just before you did? Not a trick of light, not a delay, but a whisper, a flicker, as if the image was ahead of you by a breath. And for a moment your stomach drops. Because what if you're not the one being mirrored? What if you're the echo? In Section 9, you wondered if describing reality was shaping it. Tonight, you go deeper. You ask whether reality is describing you before you even begin to speak. There is an ancient story from the Nahua people of Mesoamerica about Tezcatlipoca, the god of the obsidian mirror. His name means smoking mirror. He could see everything, not through light, but through reflection. But here's the twist: when humans looked into his mirror, they did not see themselves. They saw what watched them back. What if that's what reality is? Not a neutral surface, but a mirror that stares back. A mirror that moves first. And you are the one adjusting, reacting, mimicking, like a dancer responding to a rhythm you didn't know was playing. In modern physics, there's a theory called retrocausality. It suggests the future can influence the present. That what hasn't happened yet can reach back and change what is. We're not just traveling forward through time, we're being pulled by it. So when you feel déjà vu, when your reflection stares too long, when a stranger finishes your thought, maybe you're not imagining it. Maybe the world blinked first. Have you ever had a dream where the characters moved before you did? Where someone turned toward you before you meant to speak? Where the weather changed to match a thought you hadn't fully had? What if that dream logic is bleeding into the waking world? What if the mirror you see in sleep is more honest than the glass on your wall? Carl Jung spoke of synchronicity, those strange alignments that feel too meaningful to be random. You think of someone, and they call. You say a word, and it appears on a passing truck. You worry about a choice, and the wind knocks a book off the shelf to a page with the answer. Not cause and effect, not coincidence, a mirrored rhythm. A whisper from the world that it's been paying attention before you even knew it started. In Tibetan Buddhism, the universe is often described as a vast projection, a luminous illusion woven by mind. But it's not your illusion. It's ours, a co-dream. A shared mirror so vast that we've mistaken it for solid ground. So tonight, you look again, not at yourself but into the mirror. You wait, you soften your breath. You drop the performance. And you ask who's watching who. The mirror stares back, patient, still, silent, and maybe, just maybe, it smiles. Not with lips, but with atmosphere, with timing, with a knowing that arrives half a second before your next move. You begin to notice it elsewhere, not just in mirrors, but in the way the wind changes when you shift your thoughts, in how animals look at you as if they've seen your inner weather, in how a stranger's sentence completes something you almost said to yourself. It's not performance, it's not magic, it's mirroring, and not in response, in anticipation. In Section 14, you met the unlived versions of yourself, Now, you wonder if the world around you is one of them. The trees, the rooms, the glances, all parts of you made external so you can observe what you couldn't otherwise hold. This isn't a trick. It's a turning, a shift from thinking of reality as a backdrop to realizing it may be a participant, an intelligence, a rhythm, a mirrored presence that moves before you do. So sleep now. Let go of the idea that you are the origin of all things. Let the mirror blink first. Let it guide your breath. Let your dreams become stages where the world remembers you before you remember yourself. Let the reflection shimmer before you step forward. Let the universe be your twin, not behind, not ahead, but beside. Forever watching, forever echoing, forever dancing just before you do. And if, in the quiet, you feel like something noticed you just before you opened your eyes, don't be afraid. Just whisper back, I saw you too. It begins quietly, as so many strange truths do. You walk into a room you've never entered, but somehow know the creak of the floorboards. You smell something warm, bread, lavender, wood smoke, and it brings tears for a grandmother you never had. You close your eyes, and there it is, a garden with violet flowers and a hidden bench. You know where the path curves, where the key is buried, where the stone is loose, but it's not from this life. You've never been there, and yet you remember it. In section 13, you felt time slow with emotion. In section 15, you asked, "Who am I?" and no clear voice replied. And in section 16, the world blinked before you did, as if it already knew your thoughts. Now, you're not asking, you're remembering something that never happened. You tell yourself it's a trick, maybe a dream fragment, maybe a movie scene you've forgotten, but the feeling doesn't fade because it isn't logical. It's emotional, like losing something you were never supposed to have, like loving someone you've never actually met. Neuroscience calls it a false memory. The brain, they say, loves to complete patterns, to fill in gaps, to blend moments into something that feels whole. And that may be true. But maybe memory isn't only a backward glance. Maybe it's sideways, or forward, or inward, or ancestral. In Hindu philosophy, there's a word, samskara. It means an imprint, a groove left on the soul by experiences not just from this life, but from the ones before. A sound heard 1,000 years ago, a heartbreak still echoing, a garden walked in by someone who once wore your skin. The soul remembers, even if the mind does not. Across the ocean, many African traditions teach that memories flow not just from your past, but from your lineage. You are a living archive. The dreams of those who came before, the memories of people whose names you'll never know, but whose stories beat in the rhythm of your blood. So when a child wakes crying from a dream of war, when a stranger flinches at a sound no one else notices, when you mourn a love you never lived, perhaps it's not random. Perhaps it's remembering. Jung called it the collective unconscious, a reservoir of memory, poetry, symbols, trauma, and transcendence. Not just ideas, but felt truths. And sometimes, something from that vast sea bubbles to the surface of your mind. It arrives as a scent, a color, a sentence that ends in silence, a feeling too large for this body. There's a concept in Aboriginal Dreamtime that time does not flow, it hovers. The dream of the world is always happening, always accessible. So when you dream of a place you've never been and wake with its dirt in your heart, you may have walked there, just not in this version of the world. You close your eyes again. There's a hallway painted with shadows. You know which door sticks. You know which chair rocks. You've never lived there, but your bones say otherwise. And when you whisper, I miss it, you do. You miss something that never happened. In section 14, you met the selves you never became. And maybe this memory belongs to one of them. The painter, the mother, the one who stayed, the one who chose music, the one who walked away instead of saying yes. Maybe this is their memory. slipping through the veil. Not as regret, but as recognition. In medieval Europe, monks believed that to remember something was to call it home. That memory was not just mental, but sacred. A way of honoring truth that had no clear source. So tonight, when something rises from the mist of your chest, a place, a moment, a name that never belonged to you, don't dismiss it. Hold it like a candle. Let it flicker. Let it hum. Ask softly, where did you come from? You may not get an answer, but you'll feel a soft warmth, a soul's murmur, a whisper from somewhere before birth, or just beyond sleep. Because memory, as it turns out, isn't just a file cabinet of your past. It's a portal to dreams, to timelines, to other lives, to collective feeling. It's the soul telling stories in your own voice that you forgot how to write. So let the memory return. Let it walk through the room. Let it touch your shoulder. Let it smile like it knows something you're just about to remember. And even if you never find its source, that's okay. Some memories are not meant to be solved, only felt and honored, because in some soft, slow place a version of you lived that life. And tonight, they've come to share a moment, and you have just enough stillness to listen. It starts like most thoughts do, softly, in a quiet moment. You aren't searching for it. You don't even notice it at first. It curls into your mind like the corner of a page lifting in the breeze. You follow it instinctively, curiously, expecting it to unfold, to reach an end, to give you a clean answer you can hold like a stone in your hand. But this one doesn't. It spirals, it dissolves, and then it turns back in on itself like a snake swallowing its own tail. In section 15, you asked who was doing the asking. In section 17, you remembered a life you never lived. And now you meet a thought that leads nowhere yet follows you everywhere. Some thoughts are made to be touched, not held. Like fire, like dusk, like the feeling of missing someone you've never met. This thought is like that. It folds again and again, each answer opening a deeper question, until the only thing left is the echo of asking. Zen calls these koans questions that cannot be answered by the mind that asks them. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Does a dog have Buddha nature? If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him, not to provoke violence, but to break expectation, to dissolve the intellect until only silence remains. A student once asked his master, "How do I awaken?" The master replied, "Have you finished your rice?" Another asked, "What is the self?" And the teacher held up a flower without saying a word, because some truths are not spoken. They are absorbed, like light through skin. Imagine a staircase that never ends. You ascend, expecting a summit, but each step becomes another loop. Not upward, not downward, just inward. The deeper you go, the more you realize this was never a path to answers. It was a way to be near the unanswerable. In Hindu Advaita philosophy, there is no journey, no goal, only awareness remembering itself. You are not here to solve the world. You are here to sit beside its mystery until it stops needing to be solved. In Greek thought, Socrates did not give answers. He only asked questions that led to more questions. He once said the only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing, and somehow that brought peace. Have you ever stared at the stars and felt smaller, but also more whole? That's what this thought feels like. Not a wound, not a riddle, just a door that opens into more doors, and none of them close. Maybe you've had it before. Lying in bed, you wonder, what happens when I die? What is time made of? Was I someone else before this? And as soon as you begin to answer, the thought shifts, slides away, becomes something else. That's not failure, that's grace. It means you've touched the edge of the veil, and the veil has touched back. Let go of needing to name it. It's not meant to be pinned down or dissected. It's meant to sit beside you like a quiet friend, the kind who says nothing, but keeps you company when nothing else makes sense. Tonight, as you close your eyes, feel the thought return. It's not asking you for logic. It's asking for presence. It does not bloom, it pulses. A Mobius strip of awareness. A candle that burns only when you stop staring directly at it. Let it be. Don't chase it. Don't answer it. Just sit. In section 9, you wondered if describing reality made it real. Now you're here beside a thought that defies description, and yet feels more true than anything you've named. That's the paradox, and it's yours now. So let the thought fold. Let it curl around your breath. Let it echo and soften and shine without edges. This is not a puzzle. It is a companion, one that will walk with you in dreams, in silence, in the long pauses between waking and remembering. Some questions are not solved. They are kept, like sacred stones, like first griefs, like the face of someone you only saw once but never forgot. This thought, the one that folds, it's not here to teach you. It's here to stay, to remind you that the deepest parts of being are not answers. They are presence. So rest now. Let the question settle. Let the paradox breathe. You do not need to understand. You only need to sit beside it with wonder and sleep. You've been looking for it for as long as you can remember. A moment that feels like arrival. A sense of peace that finally stays. A truth that doesn't slip away the moment you try to name it. You've searched in books, in conversations, in silent rooms and crowded ones too. You've asked questions that looped into other questions. You've followed thoughts like breadcrumbs in a forest that never quite opens up, and always the answer stayed just a little further out, as if it was watching you from the fog, but never stepping forward. In section 15, you asked, "Who am I?" and waited for the echo. In section 18, you sat beside the unsolvable thought, folding in on itself like a sacred knot. And now, in this quiet space between breath and sleep, something shifts. You're no longer chasing. You're no longer asking. You are simply here. There's a line in the Tao Te Ching. Stop thinking and end your problems. What difference between yes and no? What difference between success and failure? It sounds strange at first, but it isn't asking you to become empty. It's asking you to stop trying to control the water by clutching at its surface. Sometimes, the path is lost not because it disappeared, but because we were walking too fast to see it. The answer is the moment you sit down, and when you do, something opens. Imagine standing in front of a blank wall. You search for a door. You tap. You knock. You analyze every crack. Nothing. And just when you give up, you lean back. Take a breath. And turn around. And there, behind you, is the doorway, waiting. The whole time, in Sufi poetry, there's a phrase, "I was knocking from inside the house." The door was never locked. You were already inside. The search was the illusion. In early Christian mysticism, the desert monks would retreat not to find God, but to forget everything else. They believed the divine appeared not through seeking, but through surrender. Silence was the key that opened everything. Not because silence is holy, but because silence allows what was always true to finally be heard. You might remember how you tried so hard to love yourself once through affirmations, routines, perfect days. But one quiet afternoon, you caught your reflection in the mirror and didn't feel the need to improve it. That was love too, the kind that didn't arrive through force. The kind that appeared when you stopped trying. Have you ever lost something, a ring, a name, a memory, and looked for hours, only to find it when you gave up? That is this moment. You've stopped looking, and in doing so, you've made space. The brain is a hunter. It seeks, it wants patterns, results, rewards. But the soul is a garden. It grows when left alone. It speaks in seasons, not seconds. When the mind quiets, the soul speaks, not with words, but with knowing. You feel it now, not as lightning, not as a trumpet of revelation, but as warmth, as a softness in the chest, as the feeling that you are no longer alone with your own wondering. Something has entered the room, and it didn't need a question to arrive. You remember now what section 9 whispered, that naming reality can shape it. But here, in the stillness, you don't need to name anything, and so reality is free to unfold without armor. It moves like a breeze through the curtain of your mind, not announcing itself, not proving its point, just moving, just opening. And there a door, not a grand one, not golden, not hidden, just open. Where did it come from? It was always there. You were just too busy asking to see it. So what now? You don't need to walk through. You only need to notice it, to bow to it, to thank the silence that revealed it. Some truths are not answers. They are invitations, and some invitations require stillness to be heard. So sit here, in this soft space. Let the question go. Let the breath slow. Let the world be without needing to grasp it. And the door will stay open. No need to search again. You're already home. It begins like steam rising off warm skin. You don't feel yourself vanish. You feel yourself soften, not vanish, but blur. The outline of who you thought you were becomes gentle, like a snowflake meeting the tongue, like the final note of a song still vibrating somewhere in the dark. At first, it's confusing. You're used to being defined, a body, a name, a past, a watcher of the world. But now, those shapes loosen, and something larger, something quieter slips through the cracks. In section 15, you whispered, "Who am I?" and no one answered. In section 18, you sat beside a thought that folded forever inward. In section 19, you stopped looking, and the answer appeared like a reflection you didn't know was waiting. And now, there is no more you to ask, no more answer to find. There is only this, whatever this is. You feel the stillness wrap around you like morning fog on the sea. The air no longer enters you. You and the air are the same. The sounds no longer arrive from outside. They bloom within you. As if every bell, every wind, every whisper was always a part of your breathing. You are no longer watching. You are no longer watched. You are the space where watching happens. This is not erasure. It's not disappearance. It's return. Not to nothing but to everything. In the Upanishads, the sages whisper, Tattvamasi, you are that, not your thoughts, not your titles, not the image in the mirror or the ache in your knees. You are what remains when all else falls away. Not the reflection, but the light behind it. Not the waves, but the sea itself. The Sufis call it fana, a complete melting of the self into the beloved. Not like fire consumes paper, but like salt dissolving into the ocean. The taste remains, but the shape is gone. And only love, not emotion, but presence is left behind. In Zen, there is no arrival, only the sudden vanishing of the one who was walking. You look down, and the footprints are still there, but the feet are not. You exhale and realize the breath was never yours. It was the wind, passing through a hollow reed. You are not gone. You are finally here. But here no longer means you. It means this moment, this light, this hum of existence with no one needing to name it. Have you ever stared at the sky so long you forgot where your face ended and the blue began? Have you ever cried at a song without knowing why, just that something inside you had been waiting for centuries to be moved? Have you ever loved someone so much you forgot where they ended and you began? That is this. Not metaphor, not poetry, just truth, unfolded. In mystical Christianity, they say God is not found by seeking, but by being still. The stillness isn't emptiness, it's union, a homecoming to what you never left, only forgot. So now, you melt, not dramatically, not all at once, like a candle becoming sunrise, like a glacier becoming memory, like thought becoming silence, and in that silence something ancient watches. It does not call you by name. It does not give you instruction. It does not ask you to return because you never left. It simply knows, and in its knowing, you become whole, not separate, not single, just this. And when you ask, what remains when all dissolves? The answer, if you can call it that, is silence. But not empty silence, sacred silence, the kind that hums, that glows, that breathes without breath, the kind that says, without words, you were never apart. You were always the sky forgetting it was the sky. You were always the song dreaming it had a singer. You were always the sea longing to remember its waves. Let it all fall away now. Let thought dissolve. Let story fade. Let identity become the softest echo of a voice once needed but no longer held. Let it all return to the ocean and float, weightless, nameless, whole. You are not the drop in the ocean. You are the ocean remembering itself through the drop. And tonight you return,